Hello. I'm so glad that you're with us today. I'm Liz Dowdy here at Evangel Church, where I hope one day, now that things are opening up, you'll come and join us. We're here at 2360 Hardy Road, Vinton, every Sunday morning at 10 a.m. If you can't make it then, I'm glad you're here for this session. We're continuing our series on Joshua, man of strength and courage, and regardless of your age, that's something you need. Whether you're very young or very old, strength, courage, two qualities that we will always need throughout our life. Last week, we talked about Joshua's journey as he went from slave to the military leader. Today, we're going to follow him as he goes from leader to personal aide. Joshua and Moses had a very close relationship, and it was because of Moses in these first 5 books that we're introduced to Joshua. Joshua, as we're going to see today, plays an important role that some might say is not really important. It's more of a supporting role. We're going to go back to Exodus in chapter 24 when Moses makes that famous ascent up to the Mount Sinai. And the Lord told Moses, he said, Moses, I want you to come with me up on the mountain and bring with you 2 tablets. And I'm going to write on these tablets the 10 commandments and the laws for you. So Moses goes. But it said Moses arose with his assistant Joshua. And Moses went up the mountain of God. And he said to the elders, wait here for us, and we will come back to you. You know, many times we skip over that and we think Moses is just telling the people to wait for him. But he says, no, I want you to wait for both of us. And Joshua goes along with Moses. And when he goes there as his aide, he has no idea, and neither does Moses, how long it's going to be. You see, Moses went up the mountain, and a cloud covered the mountain. And now the glory of the Lord descended on Mount Sinai. And the cloud stayed there. And the Lord said to Moses, he says, come on up. So Moses went up to the midst of the cloud, and he went up to the mountain, and Moses was in the mountain for 40 days and 40 nights. Okay, let's think about this. You're Joshua. You are now Moses' personal assistant. You have been with him through the war. You've just been a great military leader. You have collected people. You have gathered them. You have won the war. And now you're his aide. And Moses says, I'm going to go to the mountain of God, the mountain that he told no one else to get close to, no one else to touch. He said, but you can come with me. The only thing is, he could only go with him part way. And then he was left there. He was left there for 40 days and 40 nights. We often talk about Moses and how he was such a spiritual man that he fasted for those 40 days and 40 nights. Well, think about Joshua. He didn't know how long he was gone, and I don't think he had anything in his backpack that he could pull out. And he certainly couldn't call the pizza place for delivery. There was no way for him to get food or water either. And, once you make the commitment that you are going to be an assistant to someone and you move to that position, you stand there, and sometimes it's a very lonely place, a place that no one knows about. Everybody was looking for Moses to come down, but they didn't know where Joshua was. They could not see him. Joshua waited because he was only allowed to go so far. And being an aide instead of the leader means there's some perks that you don't get with your job. It means you don't get to go into the presence of the one in authority. It means that you have to stay in a holding pattern. And some of you may be in that holding pattern today. At one time you were in a place of great leadership, At one time you were the one telling people what to do and how to make decisions. But now the Lord has you at a place that you're just waiting. You're waiting to know what you should do, while those that are over you are waiting for their directions. Joshua waited alone, and being on that mountain by himself for 40 days was a lonely experience. Sometimes we're in that position. We don't want to be there. We'd much rather be out with the people, even if it means fighting the army of the Amalekites. We'd rather be where the action is than having to be all by ourselves. God was speaking to Moses, but what was he saying to Joshua? We have no record of Joshua receiving anything. Moses came down with the tablets. What did Joshua have? But Joshua was growing in this time. This was a very important time for him because it was developing him for the future. And maybe you're in that holding pattern yourself and thinking, what am I doing? What's the use? I can't do anything but just be here. I'm in a position that I don't have anyone to talk to anymore. I'm not doing anything for people. I'm just sitting here and all I can do is pray. That's all that Joshua could do during that time. But it was an important time for him that helped Moses during that time, and also it was a time that he was building for his future. You see, those 40 days and 40 nights on Mount Sinai came to an end for Moses. And the Lord said to Moses, go down this mountain, because all those people that you called and you brought out of Egypt, well, they're not doing what they should be. They have corrupted themselves. And so Moses went down from the mountain. And coming down the mountain, he came to Joshua. And as he and Joshua were walking down the mountain, Joshua said, listen. He said, there is a noise of war going on in the camp. Moses looked at him and said, it's not the noise or the shout of victory, nor is it the cry of defeat, but it is the shout of singing that I hear. Joshua knew what the people were doing, and he knew that they were sinning and they were doing things against the Lord, and he got there and he saw what was going on. He saw the golden calf, and his anger rose up within him, and he threw down those tablets, those 2 tablets on which the Lord himself had written the 10 Commandments. Well, how does Joshua fit into this story? Well, for Joshua, being near the glory of God, but not in the glory of God, as Moses would, had a lot of lessons for him and several for us that we can apply to this 21st century. You see, where he was kept him from being caught up in the unbelief of others. While Moses was up on top of the mountain, and Joshua was part way up the mountain, the people were down here. And they were saying, where is this Moses? Where's the one who brought us out of Israel? We don't know what's happened to him. We need God. We need another God. This God's not strong enough. Joshua was not caught up in that. And you can know that during those times that God has you tucked away and it seems like you're out of touch with other people, out of touch with what's going on in the world, and you're by yourself, just you and God, you can know that he's keeping you from people that could lead you into unbelief. He's keeping you also from temptation. They said, let's build us a golden calf. Let's make us another god. Joshua was not concerned with any of that. He did not enter into any of those temptations. His mind was focused where it should be. He knew the power of God. You see, they were all concerned. We don't know where this Moses is. We don't know what's happened to him. Maybe he's dead. But being near the glory of God, let Joshua know that God's person was in God's place. It's like, how does that apply today? Well, maybe you've wondered about your leaders. Not that you can't see them, but you're thinking, are they really hearing from God? Are they really leading us the way they should be? Is what they're saying right for today? If you are where you should be, and if you're near the glory of God, you know that you can listen and determine if God's person is exactly where he should be, and if God is speaking to him. Then, what he also knew was that being in that space, being in the place near the glory of God, did not give us automatic discernment. And that's something that we really need to be careful of. We might think, well, just because we've been praying and just because we've been alone with God, we know everything. Doesn't quite work that way. You see, Joshua says, oh, look at those people. There's all of God's people, and they're shouting, and, oh, they've got to be getting ready for war. And Moses says, nope, that's not it. That's not it at all. What they're doing is not something for good, but it's something for evil. It did, though, even though he did not have discernment, it put him in a position that he could receive insight and teaching from someone who heard God. And that's really important. God does not expect us to be lone rangers. Just like Joshua, we can get ourselves in a position that we can be with other people, and they can tell us when we get off course. They can tell us when we've said something wrong. They can tell us when we don't see truth, so that we will understand what's right. Next week, we're going to see how important learning this lesson of discernment is for Joshua. Joshua was allowed to receive the insight and teaching, but he did not have an active role in the leadership and controlling the situation and in dealing with the people. When Moses came down and he saw the situation, it says he broke the commandments, but then he dealt with sin head on. He dealt with the individuals who were involved in this. And during all this time, Joshua is to the side. Joshua before had been a commander of the army. He'd been that military leader who led the people into victory in the battle against the Amalekites. Now he's standing at the side. And our lesson in that is God has not called us to deal with every situation. There are times that we will be the leader. There will be times that he expects us to step up and deal with things. But we need to know that there are other times that he has appointed a person to be in charge, to deal with the situation, to deal with the sin, to deal with the people, and our job is to stand back and to support that person in leadership. And let me tell you, that can be a very hard job. He learned to know that his correct role was that of an aide and not of a leader. And that allowed him to go where no one else could go. When you recognize who you are and who God's called you to be, you can go to places that no one else could go. There were thousands and thousands of people in that camp, but Joshua selected one to go with him partway up the mountain. Know who you are, and God will allow you to go where no one else can go. Some say that it was earlier that his name was changed from Joshua, from Hoshea to Joshua. But Moses was the one who gave him this name change. Moses was the one who saw the potential in him. in Numbers tells us when it was changed, and it says that Hoshea, that means a desire for salvation, signifying save, or we pray thee that you will save us. But Joshua, the name to which he was changed, means the Lord saves, and it includes a promise of salvation, and God by his hand should save his people. Joshua and Jesus mean the same thing. So here is someone who is now an aide, someone who is called alongside to help Moses. Just like Jesus, he's come to help you. Joshua, Jesus, they mean the same thing. They mean they're ones who've come alongside to help and to save. Today, if you're in need of help, if you're in need because you don't understand what your role is, call out. Ask Jesus to help you, and he'll help you discover your role, and then he will take you to a place in him that you alone will be, and you will recognize that he has something special for you for this day and for this hour. Well, next week, we're going to continue talking. We're going to see Joshua moving as he moves from a personal aide to becoming a team member. See you next week.